Did you know that even the most sacred kingdoms have been shaken by internal intrigues and silent conspiracies? Today, we're going to dive into one of the most tense moments in the history of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the conspiracy of Guy de Lusignan, an episode that threatened not only political stability, but also the very future of the Crusades. With King Baldwin IV increasingly weakened by leprosy, a power vacuum emerged, and within it, ambitions ignited. Among these ambitious figures, Guy de Lusignan stood out. With charm, strategic alliances, and boldness, he quickly rose to the highest circles of the court. But was his rise a stroke of luck, or the result of a carefully woven conspiracy? Stay with us until the end to find out how Baldwin, even marked by illness, demonstrated impressive political strength in the face of this internal threat. You will be surprised by the cunning, the dramas, and the intertwined destinies in this fascinating chapter of medieval history. In the 12th century, the Latin kingdom of Jerusalem was a Christian stronghold carved into hostile lands of the Middle East. Founded after the First Crusade, the kingdom faced constant threats both from Muslim enemies, such as the growing power of Saladin, and from internal divisions. Governed by nobles from Europe, the kingdom depended on fragile dynastic alliances and the strength of its leadership to survive. Amid this turbulent scenario, Baldwin, diagnosed with leprosy at a young age, ascended the throne, defying physical and political limits. His illness, however, cast uncertainty over the succession and opened space for hidden ambitions within the heart of the court. The conspiracy of Guy de Lusignan germinated at a time of great vulnerability for the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Baldwin, despite his political and military vigor, saw his body irreversibly weaken. Faced with the urgent need to ensure dynastic continuity, the court sought a trustworthy ally to marry Sibylla, the king's sister and legitimate heir. Thus Guy de Lusignan, a French knight of noble lineage but controversial reputation, was chosen. The marriage between Guy and Sibylla, celebrated in the mid-1770s, initially seemed a prudent solution. However, tensions soon arose. Guy showed impatience, arrogance, and according to chroniclers like William of Tyre, an unbridled ambition. His authoritarian stance alienated influential barons and created divisions within the kingdom's nobility. In a short time, rumors emerged that Guy did not intend to merely be a consort, but to hasten his ascension to the throne. Baldwin, still lucid and alert despite his physical limitations, perceived the threat. In 1183, upon confirming Guy's inability to lead the army during a campaign against Saladin, the king made a drastic decision and removed Guy from the position of regent. In his place, Baldwin appointed a new heir apparent, his young nephew Baldwin V, Sibylla's son from her first marriage. Guy, far from resigning, began scheming behind the scenes. His alliance with the powerful faction of courtiers in the high court kept him influential. Many nobles, fearing the kingdom's fragmentation after Baldwin's imminent death, saw in Guy a figure capable of maintaining a semblance of unity. Thus, a support network was formed that, though disguised as loyalty, concealed a clear desire to usurp power before the young king's death. Meanwhile, Baldwin, already practically unable to govern directly, sought strategies to prevent Guy de Lusignan from taking full control. With the help of loyal allies, such as Raymond III of Tripoli and the Grand Master of the Order of the Hospitallers, the king devised measures to protect the kingdom's succession and ensure that future leadership would not fall into the hands of a man so many deemed inept. The tension between Baldwin and Guy escalated. Intrigues, pressures, and unstable alliances defined the atmosphere of the Jerusalem court during this critical period. Baldwin, even weakened, fought to preserve his legacy, while Guy and his supporters awaited the opportune moment to act. With Baldwin's health in constant decline, the struggle for power intensified. The king, aware he would not live much longer, organized the coronation of his young nephew while still alive. In a ceremony held in 1183, the young Baldwin V was proclaimed co-king, in an attempt to ensure a legitimate transition and definitively ward off the threat posed by Guy de Lusignan. Despite this maneuver, Guy did not back down. Supported by a powerful faction within the nobility and relying on the influence of his wife Sibylla, he continued to conspire. Sibylla, determined to protect her husband's interests and the future of her children, became a key figure in the strategy to legitimize Guy. The tension turned into a game of patience and influence, while Baldwin tried to manage the kingdom through trusted regents and advisors. The king, increasingly debilitated, was eventually forced to delegate daily governance to Raymond of Tripoli, one of the few barons who still enjoyed his full trust. However, the division within the court was irreversible. On one side, the supporters of Raymond and the defenders of the young dynasty. On the other, the allies of Guy and Sibylla, eager to take full control after the king's death. In 1185, Baldwin passed away, leaving the throne in the fragile hands of Baldwin V. Still a child, the new king was governed by a regency council, but his position was extremely vulnerable. Guy de Lusignan and Sibylla took advantage of the unstable situation to strengthen their support networks. When Baldwin V died prematurely in 1186, the succession crisis inevitably erupted. Without a clear heir and without the strong leadership that Baldwin had represented, the faction of Guy and Sibylla quickly moved to secure the throne. In a bold maneuver, Sibylla was crowned queen, and immediately after her coronation, she placed the crown on Guy's head, making him king of Jerusalem. Thus, the conspiracy of Guy de Lusignan achieved its goal: supreme power in the kingdom. However, the manner in which he came to the throne created deep divisions and resentments that would soon have catastrophic consequences for Jerusalem, for the Latin barons, and for the future of the Crusades. Internal instability would pave the way for Saladin's victory at Hattin and subsequently for the loss of Jerusalem, a terrible price to pay for the unchecked ambitions planted in the corridors of power during Baldwin's final years. The conspiracy of Guy de Lusignan was not just a struggle for power, it was a turning point in the downfall of the Latin kingdom of Jerusalem. Baldwin, even afflicted by leprosy, fought with all his strength to protect his kingdom from division and incompetence. His political vision and personal courage held strong until the very end, but unfortunately, the forces of ambition and intrigue prevailed after his death. Guy de Lusignan, crowned through his alliance with Sibylla, had neither the respect of the barons nor the skill necessary to face the immense challenges that would arise. Within a few years, the kingdom that Baldwin had sustained with such effort would fall into the hands of Saladin, forever changing the balance of power in the Middle East. If you enjoyed this story of courage, intrigue, and tragedy, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel to follow more episodes about the fascinating life of Baldwin and the Crusades. See you next time.